The galaxy was vast, its stars scattered like diamonds across an endless void. Among these celestial jewels lay two planets bound by fragile threads of diplomacy, Earth and Calith Prime. For years, humanity had reached out to alien civilizations in search of allies, resources, and understanding. The Calith were one such species, their shimmering skin reflecting light in ways that seemed almost magical. To humans, they appeared otherworldly, ethereal beings whose emotions danced visibly on their bodies. Yet beneath the surface of this beauty lay a deep-seated fear, a fear born from centuries of mistrust. Zaelora sat alone in her chamber aboard the Calith ambassadorial cruiser, staring at her reflection in the smooth metallic wall. Her skin glowed faintly with hues of violet and silver, colors that betrayed her unease. She sighed, running her fingers through her long, flowing hair. Today was the day she had dreaded since childhood, the day her family informed her she would be part of an arranged marriage to strengthen ties with Earth's Federation. It wasn't just the idea of marrying someone she didn't know that made her stomach churn. It was the thought of marrying a human. Stories about failed unions between Calith and humans had been passed down for generations. Tales of broken promises, cultural misunderstandings, and heartbreak filled her mind whenever she thought about what lay ahead. Humans, according to those tales, were unpredictable creatures, emotional yet distant, capable of kindness but also cruelty. They lacked the telepathic abilities of the Calith, relying instead on clumsy words and gestures that often led to confusion. Her parents' voices echoed in her head as if they were standing beside her. "This is your duty," her mother had said sternly, her own skin flickering with shades of blue determination. "You must set aside personal feelings for the good of our people." Her father had added, his tone softer but no less firm, "Humans are not all bad, Zaelora. Some have shown us great respect. Perhaps you will find common ground." But how could she? How could she trust someone so different from herself? Humans lived short lives compared to the Calith, who aged slowly and gracefully over centuries. Their customs baffled her. How they celebrated birthdays every single year, how they expressed affection openly without considering the emotional weight behind each gesture. Worst of all, humans seemed blind to the subtle cues Calith used to communicate. What if her partner misunderstood her moods? What if he dismissed her feelings entirely? The ship's intercom buzzed softly, pulling her out of her thoughts. "We will arrive at the orbital embassy within the hour," came the captain's calm voice. Zaelora clenched her fists, her skin flashing red briefly before returning to its usual silvery glow. She couldn't avoid the inevitable any longer, the cruiser approached the massive structure floating above Earth. Zaelora gazed out the viewport. The embassy was a marvel of architecture, blending human steel and glass with Calith crystalline materials. Sunlight refracted off its surfaces, creating dazzling rainbows that stretched into space. Despite its beauty, the sight filled her with dread rather than awe. This place symbolized everything she feared: a forced union, a life dictated by politics, and a future clouded by uncertainty. When the cruiser docked, Zaelora took a deep breath and stepped onto the platform connecting the ship to the embassy. Her footsteps echoed softly against the polished floor as she followed her escort, a young Calith diplomat named Virel. He glanced back occasionally, offering reassuring smiles, but Zaelora barely noticed. Her focus was entirely on the doors, ahead, behind which waited the man who would change her life forever. Finally, they entered the grand hall where the meeting was to take place. It was a large room adorned with both human and Calith symbols of unity. Flags bearing Earth's emblem hung alongside banners featuring intricate Calith patterns. In the center stood several figures, including representatives from both sides. But Zaelora's eyes immediately locked onto one person, a tall human man with warm brown eyes and dark hair streaked with gray. He wore simple clothing, nothing elaborate or flashy, yet there was something about him that commanded attention. "Zaelora," Virel whispered, nudging her gently forward. She hesitated only for a moment before stepping closer. As she approached, The man bowed slightly, placing a hand over his heart, a human gesture of respect. "I am Alex Carter," he said, his voice steady and kind. "It is an honor to meet you." For a brief moment, Zaylora forgot her fears. His gaze held none of the arrogance or indifference she had expected. Instead, she saw curiosity, and perhaps even vulnerability. For the first time, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, this wouldn't be as terrible as she had imagined. Owly. "I see. Well, if it helps, I promise I won't bite." He smiled, and though it was meant to ease tension, Zaylora found herself frowning instead. "Your humor is unusual," she remarked, her skin flickering briefly to a pale yellow, signaling mild irritation. "Perhaps we should focus on more important matters." Alex raised his hands in mock surrender, still smiling. "Of course. Whatever makes you comfortable." For the next hour, they discussed formalities, details about their upcoming marriage ceremony, cultural expectations, and logistical arrangements. Zaylora answered his questions politely but kept her responses brief, unwilling to reveal too much of herself. Meanwhile, Alex listened intently, her outburst hung in the air, heavy and awkward. Several diplomats nearby glanced over, their expressions ranging from concern to disapproval. Zaylora immediately regretted losing control, especially in such a public setting. She clenched her fists, willing her skin to calm down. To her surprise, Alex didn't argue or defend himself. Instead, he stood slowly, meeting her gaze with steady resolve. "You're right," he said simply. "I shouldn't have assumed anything. I'm sorry." His apology caught her off guard. Humans weren't supposed to admit fault so easily, or at all according to the stories she'd heard. Yet here he was, standing before her with humility etched into every line of his face. Against her will, Zaylora felt a flicker of respect. She started, then faltered. What could she say? That she appreciated his honesty? That she still didn't trust him? Both statements felt true, yet neither seemed adequate. Finally, she settled on a neutral response. "Thank you for acknowledging my feelings." Alex nodded. "I know this isn't easy for you, and I won't pretend I fully understand what you're going through, but I want you to know. I'm here to learn, not to impose." His words stayed with her long after their meeting ended. As Zaylora returned to her quarters aboard the cruiser, she replayed their conversation in her mind. Alex's calm demeanor, his genuine interest in her culture, and his willingness to listen. All of it contradicted everything she believed about humans. Perhaps there was more to him than met the eye. Still, doubt lingered like a shadow. Could she truly trust him? Or was this all part of some elaborate act designed to win her cooperation? Only time would tell. For now, Zaylora resolved to remain cautious, keeping her heart firmly shielded behind walls of logic and reason. Yet deep down, buried beneath layers of fear and prejudice, a tiny spark of hope flickered to life. Maybe, just maybe, this arrangement wouldn't be as terrible as she feared. The days following their first meeting passed in a blur of formalities and preparations. Zaylora and Alex were scheduled to embark on a journey together, a bonding period designed to help them understand each other's worlds before their official marriage ceremony. While diplomatic unions between humans and aliens weren't uncommon, they rarely succeeded without significant effort from both parties. For Zaylora, this trip was both an obligation and an opportunity, a chance to test whether her growing curiosity about Alex could outweigh her deeply ingrained fears. Their destination was Earth itself, a planet she had only seen through images and stories. The thought of stepping foot on human soil filled her with equal parts apprehension and intrigue. What would it be like to walk among humans? Would they stare at her shimmering skin or whisper behind her back? Or worse, would they treat her as some kind of spectacle? Alex seemed aware of her unease. On the day of their departure, he approached her with a reassuring smile. "I know this might feel overwhelming," he said softly, "but I'll do my best to make you comfortable. If anything makes you uneasy, just let me know." Zaylora nodded stiffly, her skin glowing faintly blue, a sign of determination mixed with anxiety. She appreciated his concern but wasn't ready to rely on him completely. Trust, after all, took time to build. Their first stop was a lush biome, reserve located near one of Earth's equatorial regions. As their shuttle descended through thick clouds, Zaelora pressed her face against the viewport, marveling at the vibrant greens and blues below. The landscape was alive with movement. Rivers winding through dense forests, animals darting across open plains, and birds soaring gracefully above treetops. "This is one of my favorite places," Alex explained as they disembarked. "It's a protected area where we're working to restore ecosystems damaged by climate change. I spend a lot of time here studying plant species that can adapt to extreme conditions." Zaelora followed him silently, taking in the sights and sounds around her. The air smelled different here, earthy and humid, unlike the sterile atmosphere of spaceships or embassies. She reached out tentatively, to touch the bark of a towering tree, its rough texture unfamiliar beneath her fingertips. Her skin shifted to a soft lavender hue, signaling wonder mingled with caution. Alex noticed and smiled. "You like it?" "It is different," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "On Calith Prime, our landscapes are more crystalline. Everything shines and reflects light. This feels grounded." "Grounded," Alex repeated thoughtfully. "That's a good way to describe Earth. It's messy and unpredictable, but there's beauty in that too." Over the next few hours, Alex introduced Zaelora to various plants and creatures, sharing insights about their roles in the ecosystem. He spoke passionately about his work, explaining how certain species could survive even in harsh environments if given the right support. His enthusiasm was infectious, and Zaelora found herself asking questions despite her initial reluctance. "What happens when these plants fail?" she asked, pointing to a cluster of delicate flowers struggling under the midday sun. "Sometimes, failure is part of the process," Alex replied. "But even then, we learn something valuable. Every setback teaches us how to improve." His words resonated with her in ways she hadn't expected. Failure wasn't something the Calith embraced easily. Their culture prized perfection and harmony above all else. Yet here was Alex, unafraid to acknowledge imperfection as a stepping stone to growth. For the first time, Zaelora began to see parallels between their worlds, not in appearance, but in philosophy. As the days turned into weeks, Zaelora and Alex continued their travels, visiting diverse regions of Earth. From arid deserts to snow-capped mountains, each location offered new lessons about resilience and adaptation. Along the way, Zaelora taught Alex about Calith customs, showing him how to interpret the subtle shifts in her skin tones and explaining the significance of their telepathic communication. One evening, as they sat beside a crackling campfire, in a remote forest, Alex leaned closer, his expression curious. "Can you teach me more about your emotional colors? I want to understand what they mean so I don't accidentally misread you." Zaelora hesitated, surprised by his request. Teaching a human to decipher Calith emotions felt strange, almost intimate. But she relented, pointing to her forearm, which glowed faintly gold. "This means contentment," she explained. "When I'm happy or at peace, my skin takes on warmer tones." "And what about red?" Alex asked, recalling the flashes of crimson he'd seen during moments of tension. "That signifies anger or distress," she replied, her voice softening. "It's a warning to others and to myself." Alex nodded thoughtfully. "So when your skin turns green, does that mean you're cautious?" "Yes," Zaelora confirmed, her lips curving into a small smile. "Like now, for example." She gestured to her hands, which shimmered faintly with emerald hues. "I am still learning to trust you." "I understand," Alex said gently. "And I respect that. Trust isn't something you can rush." His acknowledgement touched her deeply. For the first time since their journey began, Zaelora felt a genuine connection forming between them. Their differences no longer seemed insurmountable barriers but rather opportunities for mutual understanding. However, not every moment was smooth sailing. Misunderstandings inevitably arose, testing their patience and resolve. One such incident occurred during a visit to a bustling human city. The noise and crowds overwhelmed Zaylora, her skin flickering erratically as strangers stared openly at her shimmering form. When Alex suggested they stop for lunch at a crowded cafe, she snapped, "I cannot endure this," she exclaimed, her voice rising sharply. "Your world is chaotic and intrusive." Taken aback, Alex apologized profusely. "I didn't realize it would be so overwhelming. Let's go somewhere quieter, I promise." But Zaylora was too upset to listen. She stormed off, leaving Alex trailing behind. It wasn't until later that night, as they sat alone in their hotel room, that she finally calmed down enough to explain her reaction. "My people value privacy and space," she said quietly. "Being surrounded by so many unfamiliar minds, it's exhausting." Alex listened intently, nodding in understanding. "I get it now. Thank you for telling me. I'll try harder to consider your perspective moving forward." His willingness to adapt impressed her. Slowly but surely, they were finding common ground, bridging the gap between their vastly different cultures. The journey back to the orbital embassy marked a turning point for Zaylora and Alex. Over the weeks they had spent traveling Earth together, their bond had deepened significantly. They shared laughter over small victories, like when Alex finally managed to identify one of Zaylora's fleeting skin tones correctly, and supported each other through moments of frustration and misunderstanding. Yet, as much as their connection grew, external forces began casting long shadows over their budding relationship. Zaylora noticed it first during their final days on Earth. News broadcasts filled with heated debates about interspecies unions dominated human media. Some argued that such marriages represented progress and unity, while others claimed they threatened cultural identity and stability. Anti-alien sentiment flared up in certain regions, fueled by fear-mongering commentators who painted Calith human relationships as unnatural experiments doomed to fail. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, holding signs that read slogans like, "Keep our world separate" or "Unity at what cost." Alex tried to shield Zaylora from the worst of it, but she couldn't ignore the tension creeping into their interactions. One evening, as they prepared dinner in their temporary quarters, she turned to him abruptly. "Do you think this is worth it?" Her voice was quieter than usual, tinged with uncertainty. Alex paused, his hand stilling on the knife he was using to chop vegetables. "What do you mean?" Us," Zaylora gestured between them, her skin flickering faintly red. "All this effort we're putting in. Do you truly believe it can work when so many people oppose it?" Alex set the knife down and faced her, his expression thoughtful. "I won't lie, it's not going to be easy. There will always be people who don't understand or agree with what we're doing. But does that mean we should give up before we even try? I think our union has the potential to inspire others, to show that differences don't have to divide us." His words were heartfelt, but Zaylora struggled to find comfort in them. She had grown up hearing stories of failed marriages between humans and aliens, tales passed down through generations as cautionary lessons. Each story ended the same way: heartbreak, betrayal, or worse. Could their love really stand against centuries of mistrust? Back aboard the orbital embassy, the pressure intensified. The Calith Council summoned Zaylora for an emergency meeting shortly after their return. As she entered the chamber, her heart sank. The council members sat arranged in a semicircle, their shimmering skins glowing dimly with disapproval. Their leader, Elder Terran, addressed her without preamble. "Zaylora, we have received reports of growing unrest among both humans and Calith regarding your impending marriage," Terran said, his tone grave. "Many fear that this union could destabilize our society and strain diplomatic relations further. Tell us, do you still believe this arrangement is wise?" Zaylora clenched her fists, her skin flashing red and green in rapid succession, a sign of inner conflict. She wanted to defend her decision, to explain how much she and Alex had learned from each other. But doubt gnawed at her resolve. Was she being selfish by pursuing something that might harm her people? She started, then faltered. "I am uncertain," Elder Terran leaned forward, his gaze piercing. Your hesitation speaks volumes. Perhaps it is time to reconsider this path. For the sake of peace, if nothing else. The weight of his words pressed heavily on Zaylora's chest. Leaving the council chamber, she felt more conflicted than ever. How could she reconcile her duty to her people with the feelings stirring within her? That night, Zaylora sought solace in the embassy gardens, a serene space designed to mimic natural environments from both Earth and Calith Prime. She wandered among bioluminescent plants and flowing water features, her mind racing. It was there that Alex found her, sitting alone on a bench beneath a canopy of glowing vines. You look troubled, he said gently, taking a seat beside her. Want to talk about it? Zaylora hesitated, unsure where to begin. Finally, she confessed everything, the council's warnings, the protests, and her own fears. I feel torn, she admitted, her voice trembling. Part of me wants to believe we can make this work, but another part wonders if it's too dangerous. What if we cause more harm than good? Alex listened intently, his expression calm yet concerned. When she finished speaking, he reached out and placed a hand lightly on hers. I can't promise you that everything will go smoothly, he said. There will be challenges, probably more than either of us can imagine right now. But I also can't imagine walking away from what we've built together. His honesty caught her off guard. Humans weren't supposed to be this selfless or this understanding. Yet here was Alex offering her the freedom to choose, even if it meant letting her go. What if I decide to end it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Would you hate me? Alex shook his head firmly. Never. I care about you. Too much to force you into something you don't want. If you decide this isn't the right path for you, I'll respect that. All I ask is that you make the choice based on what you truly want, not just what others expect of you. Tears welled up in Zaylora's eyes, though she blinked them away quickly. No one had ever given her such unconditional support before, not her family, not her peers, certainly not the council. In that moment, she realized how rare and precious Alex's love truly was. The decision to move forward with their union brought a renewed sense of purpose for Zaylora and Alex, but it also placed them squarely in the spotlight. Their marriage was no longer just a personal commitment. It had become a symbol of hope or controversy, depending on who you asked. News of their upcoming wedding spread like wildfire across galaxies, drawing attention from both supporters and critics alike. For every message of encouragement they received, there were twice as many voices questioning whether their union could withstand the weight of two vastly different worlds. To demonstrate their dedication to unity, Zaylora and Alex volunteered for a joint mission aimed at terraforming a barren moon orbiting Earth's outer colonies. The project, known as Lunaris Revival, sought to transform the lifeless rock into a habitable environment, capable of sustaining both human and Calith settlers. It was an ambitious endeavor, fraught with challenges, but one that carried immense symbolic value. By working together under harsh conditions, they hoped to prove that collaboration between their species wasn't just possible, it could thrive. The journey to Lunaris began aboard a sleek research vessel equipped with cutting-edge technology, designed for survival in extreme environments. As the ship approached the desolate moon, its gray surface loomed large against the blackness of space, a stark reminder of the task ahead. Zaylora gazed out the viewport, her skin shimmering faintly, blue with determination mixed with apprehension. Beside her, Alex studied holographic maps detailing the terrain, his brow furrowed in concentration. This is going to be tough, he admitted, glancing at her. But if anyone can pull it off, it's us. Zaylora nodded slowly, though doubts lingered in her mind. She trusted Alex more than ever, but the scale of what they were attempting felt overwhelming. Could two individuals really make a difference when entire civilizations struggled to find common ground? Upon landing, they joined a team of scientists and engineers tasked with jump-starting Lunaris's ecosystem. Their roles complemented each other perfectly. Alex's expertise lay in identifying plant species resilient enough to survive the moon's thin atmosphere. while Zaylora used her telepathic abilities to monitor environmental changes and detect potential hazards. Together, they formed a seamless partnership, balancing logic and intuition in ways neither could achieve alone. Despite their synergy, tensions occasionally arose. One particularly grueling day, after hours spent planting seedlings in rocky soil, Alex grew frustrated when several saplings failed to take root. "Why isn't this working?" he muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "We've done everything right." Zaylora knelt beside him, her skin shifting to a calming lavender hue. "Sometimes patience is required," she said gently. "Growth takes time, especially in hostile environments. Trust the process." Her words soothed him momentarily, but the stress of the mission weighed heavily on both of them. Later that evening, as they reviewed data in their shared quarters, Alex snapped irritably when a critical system malfunctioned. "This equipment is useless," he exclaimed, slamming his fist on the table. Zaylora flinched, her skin flashing red before returning to silver. "Anger will not fix the problem," she replied sharply. "We must remain focused." Alex sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're right. I'm sorry, I'm just tired." "I understand," Zaylora said, softening. "So am I, but we cannot let frustration divide us. Remember why we are here." Their ability to confront conflicts head-on strengthened their bond. Each disagreement became an opportunity to learn more about each other's coping mechanisms and cultural differences. Over time, they developed a rhythm, anticipating each other's needs and offering support without hesitation. The true test of their teamwork came during a crisis that nearly derailed the entire mission. A sudden solar flare disrupted power grids across the base, causing vital systems, including oxygen generators, to fail. Panic erupted among the crew as alarms blared and emergency protocols kicked in. Amid the chaos, Zaylora and Alex sprang into action. "Follow me," Alex shouted, leading a group toward the backup generators. Meanwhile, Zaylora tapped into her telepathic abilities, scanning the minds of nearby teammates to locate those in immediate danger. Her skin pulsed rapidly with urgent shades of red and orange as she relayed crucial information to Alex through gestures and brief verbal cues. Together, they navigated treacherous corridors filled with debris and smoke, working tirelessly to restore functionality. At one point, Alex found himself trapped beneath fallen equipment, unable to free himself. Zaylora rushed to his side using her telekinetic strength, a rare gift among Calith, to lift the heavy metal beam pinning him down. "Are you hurt?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. "I'm fine," Alex assured her, wincing slightly as he stood. "Thanks to you." Once the situation stabilized, the crew gathered in the main control room to assess the damage. Their leader, Dr. Elena Vega, addressed the group, her tone filled with gratitude. "Today proved something important," she said. "That humans and Calith can rely on each other in times of need. Thanks to Zaylora and Alex, we managed to prevent disaster." Cheers erupted around the room, echoing off metallic walls. Zaylora glanced at Alex, her skin glowing faintly, pink, a color she rarely displayed. He smiled back, his eyes shining with pride. For the first time, they didn't feel like representatives of separate species. They felt like partners, equals, united by shared purpose. Word of their heroics spread quickly, earning admiration from both human and Calith observers. Media outlets hailed their efforts as proof that interspecies cooperation could succeed. Even skeptics began to soften their stance, acknowledging the courage and resilience demonstrated by the couple. Yet despite the praise, Zaylora and Alex remained humble, focusing instead on the work ahead. As weeks turned into months, Lunaris began showing signs of life. Tiny green shoots emerged from the once barren soil, nourished by specially engineered nutrients. Streams of water carved paths through the rocky landscape, creating miniature ecosystems teeming with promise. Watching these changes unfold, Zaylora felt a profound sense of accomplishment. This barren world was becoming a testament to hope, not just for her and Alex, but for all beings willing to embrace change. One evening, as they stood side by side overlooking the burgeoning landscape, Alex spoke softly. "Do you think people will remember this place someday?" Not just as a scientific achievement, but as a symbol of what's possible. Zaylora considered his question, her skin shimmering faintly gold. "I believe they will," she replied, "because sometimes even the smallest acts of unity can inspire greatness." The day of the wedding arrived, bathed in golden sunlight that streamed through the orbital embassy's crystalline windows. The grand hall buzzed with anticipation as dignitaries from across galaxies gathered to witness a union unlike any other, a marriage between Zaylora of the Caliph and Alex Carter of Earth. For weeks leading up to the ceremony, preparations had been meticulous, blending traditions from both cultures into a harmonious celebration. Yet beneath the surface of joyous festivities lay lingering tensions, reminders of the challenges still facing their relationship. As Zaylora stood before a mirror in her private chamber, she couldn't help but marvel at how far she'd come. Her shimmering skin glowed softly with hues of lavender and gold, reflecting the calm confidence she felt despite the weight of expectations pressing down on her shoulders. She wore an intricate gown crafted by skilled artisans from both Earth and Caliph Prime, its flowing fabric adorned with delicate patterns that symbolized unity and resilience. Around her neck hung a pendant, gifted to her by Alex, a small crystal etched with symbols representing hope and trust. "You look beautiful," said Virel, the young Caliph diplomat who had accompanied her throughout the journey. His voice carried warmth, though his skin flickered faintly green, betraying his own nervousness about the event. "Thank you," Zaylora replied, managing a small smile. "I only hope this day brings more than just spectacle. It must mean something." "It already does," Virel assured her. "Your bond with Alex has inspired so many. You've shown us all what is possible when fear gives way to understanding." Her heart swelled at his words, but doubt lingered like a shadow. Would today silence the critics? Or would it merely fuel further division? She pushed those thoughts aside, focusing instead on the vows she was about to exchange, the promises she intended to keep no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Alex prepared in a nearby room, dressed in simple yet elegant attire chosen to honor both human and Caliph customs. He adjusted the ceremonial sash draped over his shoulder, its vibrant colors echoing the hues of Zaylora's gown. As he stared at his reflection, he couldn't shake the gravity of the moment. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a declaration, commitment not only to Zaylora, but to the ideals they represented. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Dr. Ellen, a Vega, the leader of the Lunaris Revival Project who had become a close friend during their time together. "Ready for this?" she asked, her tone light-hearted but sincere. "As ready as I'll ever be," Alex admitted with a nervous laugh. "To be honest, I'm more worried about messing up the ritual than anything else." Elena chuckled, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. "You'll do fine. Just remember why you're doing this. That's all anyone cares about." Alex nodded, drawing strength from her words. He thought back to every challenge they'd faced. The protests, the doubts, the near-fatal incident on Lunaris, and realized none of it mattered compared to the love he shared with Zaylora. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The ceremony began as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the hall in a soft, ethereal glow. Guests took their seats, hushed whispers filling the air as music played, a blend of Caliph hums and human melodies that created an otherworldly harmony. At the center of the room stood an altar decorated with flowers native to both Earth and Caliph Prime, symbolizing the fusion of two worlds. Zaylora entered first, escorted by Elder Terran, whose expression remained neutral despite his earlier reservations. Her presence commanded attention, her radiant skin catching the light with every step. When she reached the altar, Alex approached from the opposite side, meeting her gaze with unwavering resolve. Together, they turned to face the officiant, a respected elder from each culture who would guide them through the rituals. The ceremony unfolded seamlessly, blending elements of both traditions. They exchanged vows written in both languages, promising to honor and support one another through life's trials. Zaylora placed a strand of glowing Caliph thread around Alex's wrist, signifying their unbreakable bond. while Alex tied a silver ring around hers, a human symbol of eternity. Their gestures were met with applause, tears, and cheers from the audience, a testament to the impact their union had already made. But the celebration was short-lived. Midway through the reception, chaos erupted outside the embassy. Anti-alien extremists, emboldened by media coverage of the event, attempted to storm the building shouting slogans against interspecies relationships. Security forces quickly intervened, but the disruption cast a pall over the festivities. Zelora and Alex stepped forward, refusing to let fear dictate the tone of their special day. Hand in hand, they addressed the crowd, their voices steady and resolute. "Today is not just about us," Alex declared, his words amplified by microphones. "It's about proving that love can transcend boundaries, whether they're cultural, societal, or even galactic." Zelora added, her telepathic abilities allowing her message to resonate deeply with everyone present. "We understand your fears, but we ask you to see beyond them. Look at what we have achieved together. Imagine what we can accomplish if we choose unity over division." Their speech silenced the dissent momentarily, earning nods of approval from many attendees. Even some skeptics seemed moved, their hardened expressions softening as they considered the couple's plea for peace. Months had passed since the wedding, and Zelora and Alex now called a research station orbiting Earth their home. The station, named Unity Point, served as both a scientific hub and a symbol of intercultural cooperation, a testament to what could be achieved when humans and aliens worked together. For the couple, it was more than just a workplace. It was a sanctuary where they continued to build their life side by side, blending traditions, dreams, and aspirations. The days aboard Unity Point were filled with purpose. Zelora dedicated herself to studying emotional dynamics between species, using her telepathic abilities to bridge communication gaps among the diverse crew members. Her insights proved invaluable, helping resolve conflicts and foster understanding in ways no one else could. Meanwhile, Alex focused on his passion for botany, cultivating plants from both Earth and Calith Prime in hydroponic gardens. These green spaces not only provided fresh air and sustenance, but also created a sense of calm amidst the sterile environment of the station. Together, they spearheaded initiatives aimed at fostering empathy and collaboration between humans and aliens. They hosted workshops where participants learned about each other's cultures, organized storytelling nights that celebrated shared histories, and even launched a mentorship program pairing young humans with Calith elders, and vice versa. Their efforts earned them admiration across galaxies, inspiring others to follow in their footsteps. One evening, as the station orbited silently above Earth, Zelora and Alex stood together in one of the observation decks, gazing out at the planet. Below, the sight never failed to take her breath away, Earth swirling blues and greens glowing softly against the blackness of space. It reminded her of how far she'd come, not just physically but emotionally. "I never imagined I'd end up here," Zelora said softly, leaning into Alex's embrace. "When my family told me about this arrangement, I thought it would destroy me." Alex tightened his arm around her shoulders, smiling fondly. "And now?" "Now?" She paused, her skin shimmering faintly pink, a color she associated with happiness and contentment. "Now I see that sometimes fear blinds us to possibilities we can't yet imagine. You've taught me that love has the power to change everything." Alex chuckled warmly. "You give me too much credit. We're partners in this journey. You've changed me just as much as I've changed you." It was true. Over time, Zelora had helped Alex become more attuned to nonverbal cues, teaching him to read subtle shifts in body language and tone. In turn, Alex had encouraged her to embrace spontaneity, showing her that perfection wasn't always necessary for connection. Together, they balanced logic and emotion, structure and flexibility, tradition and innovation. Their work extended beyond the confines of Unity Point. As advocates for interspecies harmony, Zelora and Alex traveled frequently, speaking at conferences, visiting schools, and participating in diplomatic missions. They became living proof that differences didn't have to divide, they could enrich. Their story resonated deeply with audiences, sparking conversations about acceptance, tolerance, and the beauty of diversity. One particularly memorable trip took them to Calith Prime, where Zaelora introduced Alex to her childhood home, a crystalline city nestled within towering peaks. The visit was bittersweet. While many greeted them warmly, some still viewed their union with skepticism. Yet Zaelora refused to let negativity overshadow the occasion. Instead, she invited skeptics to join her and Alex on guided tours of Lunaris, where they witnessed firsthand the thriving ecosystems born from their combined efforts. These plants represent more than survival, Zaelora explained during one such tour, gesturing to a cluster of vibrant blooms. They symbolize hope, the idea that growth is possible even in the harshest conditions, just like our relationship. Her words struck a chord, softening hearts and opening minds. By the end of the trip, several former critics expressed newfound respect for the couple, acknowledging the courage it took to defy convention. Back aboard Unity Point, Zaelora found solace in small moments of everyday life. She loved watching Alex tend to his garden, marveling at how he coaxed life from seemingly barren soil. She joined him often, learning which plants thrived best under certain conditions and sharing stories of Calith flora. Together they experimented with hybrid species, combining Earth's resilience with Calith elegance to create something entirely new. On one such afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the greenhouse windows, Zaelora knelt beside Alex, examining a delicate flower whose petals shimmered faintly, an unexpected mutation caused by cross-pollination. "It's beautiful," she murmured, her fingers brushing lightly against its surface. "A piece of both our worlds." Alex nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Kind of like us, isn't it? Different roots, but growing toward the same light." Zaelora smiled, her skin glowing faintly gold. "Yes, and look how strong it is." Their bond had grown stronger too, weathering storms and blossoming into something extraordinary. While challenges remained, prejudices persisted, political tensions flared, they faced them together, drawing strength from each other. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. What mattered was the foundation of trust, respect, and love upon which it stood.